All right, welcome back to my channel, and today we're going to be talking about specifically the Jupiter in Taurus and Jupiter in the second house. So for those of you that are new to my channel, hello, hi, my name is Brandon. I do astrology videos here, and we will be talking about specifically what Jupiter means in the sign of Taurus, as well as what Jupiter means within the second house. Now, if you're entirely new to astrology, I'd recommend look at the description box below, because down there you will see a link that you can go to that will help you download specifically where your birth chart is, so you can understand specifically whether or not you have Jupiter in Taurus or whether or not you have Jupiter in the second house. All those things are kind of indicated within just generating your own birth chart. So knowing specifically what Jupiter placement you have and where that is placed within your birth chart is where this is going to kind of play in. So just know that that's what we're going to be talking about today. We're also going to be kind of talking about specifically what Jupiter means within a chart prior to all of that. This is a series that I'm doing, an ongoing series that I'm doing with every single placement in every single sign and house, kind of in that order. So I've already done the Aries series, and this is the Taurus series and second house series. So I will be talking about specifically each sign in Taurus and then each sign in the second house. So if you have Jupiter in Taurus, if you have any planets in Taurus, this series is for you. And then you can check out in the description box how to link back to that series, as well as specifically watching your portion of Jupiter in Taurus in this example in the timestamp down below. And then I also will have, for those that have Jupiter in the second house, there will be a portion in this video that you can click ahead to that specifically speaks about Jupiter in the second house and what that may indicate within the natal chart. So that's all we got going on right now. As you guys know, because it's YouTube, you know the obligatory like, comment, subscribe thing. If any of you are interested in any astrology things, I will kind of talk about a little bit about that more so later, but there's also information down below if you guys want readings from me, connect with me, things like that. So without further ado, let's move in just to talk about specifically what kind of Jupiter means in the natal chart. Okay, so Jupiter in specific within the natal chart is going to have a bunch of different indicators. So Jupiter is a benefic planet, is a powerful planet. It is a very large planet. So a lot of the time when astrologers speak about Jupiter within a natal chart's perspective, they really speak about a lot of opportunity, a lot of growth, a lot of ease within whatever sign and house Jupiter is located. And so Jupiter specifically will indicate a lot of opportunity, a lot of expansiveness, a lot of excess too. It can also indicate overdoing something or something in abundance. And so Jupiter also indicates a lot of where you get your meaning and belief from. So depending upon what house Jupiter is in, as well as what sign Jupiter is placed in, as well as aspects, which I won't be going into within this video here today, Jupiter shows how we form our belief systems, how we find the meaning behind why we're here, how we follow things like law and religion and philosophy, and what our ideas are that bring us into that. It's a very truth-seeking and explorative planet. There's a lot of faith related to Jupiter, and it's a lot of, like I said, meaning-making and teaching you how to teach, really, how to learn, how you like to learn, how you like to be taught, what the meaning is behind why you're doing what you're doing, and how you extract that meaning from the world. So Jupiter in various signs is gonna play differently and gonna explore differently. Jupiter rules naturally the sign of Sagittarius and Pisces. It is exalted in the sign of Cancer, and then is considered fallen in the sign of Capricorn. And so Jupiter has a lot of indications to, faith and religion. It doesn't do that well in earth signs, which we're going to talk about specifically in the Jupiter Taurus portion. And it does quite well in most fire and water signs, just because of that rulership with Jupiter in Sag, as well as Jupiter in Pisces and Cancer. So Jupiter does really well within water and fire because Jupiter is about beliefs and faith and meaning. And when there is this kind of element of feeling into it and exploring it from like a more visceral and energetic level that comes with the water Jupiters, it's going to be a lot easier versus also doing a Jupiter in fire, where it's very explorative, very fun. It makes it makes a lot of, faith through action and faith through your own initiation, your own energy, your own willpower, your own, just explorative. It makes it more of a fun process with Jupiter and fire versus Jupiter in earth or air. Jupiter and earth is going to have a very wanting to solidify its beliefs and wanting to kind of really solidly stand on beliefs, which is very important. But it can kind of get a little bit rigid in that regard, can get a little bit more stick in the mud kind of thing when it comes to Jupiter and Earth, because Jupiter does not genuinely function that well in Earth unless there's other things going on within the chart that indicate that it can kind of have a lot of positivity about it. And then Jupiter in air is obviously a lot of talking about beliefs and talking about things, but it can also expand a lot more social things when it comes to Jupiter in air. And Jupiter can do somewhat okay in air if it has a network of people or an audience or a topic that it really likes to kind of work with. And there's a lot of collaborative effort with Jupiter and air, so a lot of collaborative opportunity. Jupiter and Earth is a lot more of the opportunity that's given to you on a basis of physical, tangible, earthly wealth and earthly, sort of gain, if you will. And Jupiter and fire is a lot of opportunity with actual actions and actual, opportunities and doors that are open for you in various ways with Jupiter and fire. And then Jupiter and water kind of is more of this internalized faith where you see a lot more mystics and psychics and healers and more, when you think of the wise old grandparent, you think a lot about the Jupiter in Pisces, Jupiter Cancer, that kind of vibe to it. So that's enough about the Jupiter. And wherever Jupiter is placed in the chart too, I'm gonna add one more thing really quick. Where Jupiter is placed in the chart by house, because I didn't really talk about it by house it's going to expand quite a lot of different things relative to the native's experience. So Jupiter in the second house, we're going to talk about specifically in this video here today, and how Jupiter expands within that house. But depending upon where Jupiter sits, it's going to make that area of life a little bit easier for you to manage, or have a lot of opportunity in there, or kind of easier to grasp, or potentially overwhelming, right? It can also be an overwhelm depending upon how the chart's laid out as well. So with that being said, we're going to move into talking about specifically Jupiter in Taurus. So I'll see you in the next part where we talk about Jupiter in Taurus. Okay, so we specifically have Jupiter in the sign of Taurus. And so when you have Jupiter in Taurus, there is going to be a lot of focus and abundance around physical sensory experiences. So Jupiter in Taurus is a lot about allowing you to find meaning through those things that you tangibly, physically own. So thinking about kind of what this physical thing that I'm buying, or this physical thing that I'm creating, or this thing that I'm gardening or tending to, what meaning is within that physical object, within that thing I'm building. There's a lot of, when you see Jupiter in Taurus, and also kind of Jupiter in the second house, you're gonna see this faith kind of foundation building. Because Taurus is a lot about building that foundation and building that kind of structure that you kind of lean on for a really long time. And so when Jupiter's in Taurus, there's a lot of abundance and opportunity for the native to really build a solid faith-based sort of moral compass, if you will, from their family. There could be a very strong wealth or wealth focus or financial or physical resource focus with Jupiter in the second house. There could be philanthropy Jupiter in Taurus. There could be a philanthropy sort of way about this, but overall Jupiter in the sign of Taurus is going to expand a lot of sensory things. It's going to expand the ability to make money. These are people that with certain alignments can be quite wealthy, because Jupiter wants to give the native a lot of opportunity and options to utilize their resources and their morals and their values. And it's been so interesting recording this second house and Taurus series, because a lot of the topics that I've been talking about have all kind of been the same focus, because I've been talking about Taurus all week. And Jupiter specifically is a lot about finding meaning behind behind the money-making process, and a lot of people that have Jupiter and Taurus have lives that are focused around creating meaning in the physical world, and a lot of resourcefulness, a lot of earthly focus, and they really are supposed to find a very, very powerful relationship with the resources that they have, and they're able to find a lot of meaning and extract a lot of meaning from the mere kind of experiences they're going through, that they're able to get money from, they're able to get resources from. And so a lot of things with Jupiter Taurus too, there can be a focus around anything nature-based, anything that is food-based. They can make a lot of money through food, through jewelry, through fine art, through fine dining, through gold and those sorts of fine metals and jewelry and things. Anything that's beautiful, Jupiter and Taurus can give a lot of abundance within that, a lot of opportunity. There can be with Jupiter and Taurus, and this is also indicative in Jupiter in the second house, there can be a overspending. There can be a lot of overspending, overabundance, needing to constantly kind of keep up with the Joneses, if you will, with Jupiter in the second and in Taurus. But it's a lot about expanding the senses and the palate and the ability to experience sensory pleasures. And so you can imagine with Jupiter and Taurus that these people are here to find meaning in how broad they can have their palate be, and how broad they can have their sensory experience become. And so there's a powerful potency with Jupiter and Taurus. They can almost have a more sensitivity to quite a lot of things, but mainly smells and tastes. They can have a very sensitive palate. So that's why if you have a lot of Taurus placements, you can be a great food critic. You can, teach people about food, teach people about, sensory things similar to, home decor, or, anything that's artistic, you can really teach with Jupiter in the sign of Taurus. And with Jupiter in the sign of Taurus, you are going to want to see as well where Venus is located in the chart, because Venus within the natal chart is going to show how Jupiter is kind of extracting more meaning, or what type of resources it's really extracting that meaning from. So for example, if Jupiter is in Taurus and let's say Venus is in Gemini, then what this may indicate is someone who is potentially a food critic writer, right? Or someone who has a lot of conversations about fine food or fine dining, or kind of a lot of content they create around specifically food or plants or resources and things of that nature. Now, if we put Jupiter in, for another example, with Jupiter and Taurus with Venus and Aquarius, this would be a very different this would be one of the bigger indicators of people that would be more environmentalists and environmental advocates, and indications of someone who really finds meaning through creating a community that has the same values and values the same physical things as they do. And so there's a lot there that we'll see when Jupiter is in Taurus, but then when Venus is located in other parts of the chart, right? When we put Jupiter in Taurus and Venus in Cancer, for example, this is where you really do see a lot of those home improvement sorts of things, and those kind of beautifying and home decor. You see that a lot with the Jupiter Cancer combination, which I kind of hint at quite a lot in here, because Taurus and Cancer work really well together when they're within a natal chart. And so Jupiter and Taurus can definitely have some indications of that depending upon where Venus is sitting in the chart, and how Venus is located, because Jupiter and Venus both indicate value and morals and things that we care about, things that we put our stock into, if you will. And Jupiter in Taurus really wants to create a stock and a foundation that is really beautiful, and is really they want to surround themselves with resources that are showing them kind of like within an environment that's kind of reflective of their philosophy. So you could also see people with Jupiter and Taurus that really like to be in libraries or really like to be in spaces that are beautiful. Like they almost like to go sit at, museums and things like that. You can see that these are people that could learn quite a lot about life through fine art, or teaching through fine art, or through classical studies, if you will, earthly studies or sciences, things like that. And so so Jupiter in Taurus definitely has some indications of a lot of financial wealth, a lot of value, a lot of opportunity for financial and physical abundance, but a lot of it is based off of how you utilize those resources, how you utilize what you're given, how you teach your value, what value you bring into the world, and kind of like allowing yourself to be a vessel for teaching value. And I talk about this a lot with the Taurus series I've been doing, but Jupiter, I think, is a lot more on the preacher side of things. And so they're gonna have a lot more resources typically to work with, unless Jupiter's difficultly aspected or other things are going on in the chart, that would really show someone who really is able to teach something from a space of their own value. And it's almost like they can make money through teaching a lot of the time. They can make money through law. These are people that could, that really don't have as much of a limit on how they believe their value to be. They can be pretty confident people. They could also be very vain people. We see this with Taurus. There's a lot of like vanity with Taurus, and there's also a lot of pure beauty with Taurus when it's able to really sit within that kind of illusion quality. And so Jupiter in Taurus really wants to have this grounded experience they can draw meaning from. And so you see that Jupiter in Taurus wants to have a rich life, and they will. It's just really about them being able to very deeply experience their senses, experience the world around them, and experience life with almost this like kind of like rose-colored glasses, but more of just finding the beauty in things, in their resources, and find the beauty in what they're given and the gifts that they've received and the luxuries that are all around them at all times, and kind of focusing their attention on that. So that's Jupiter and Taurus, guys. There's a lot there. And Jupiter is actually currently in Taurus at the time of recording this, which is really interesting. And so I really hope that this helps some Jupiter and Tauruses find a sense of understanding their value. And obviously, of course, Jupiter being in Taurus at the time of recording this is a very expansive time for physical resources and for animals and the environment and our senses and our financial sectors. And so understanding the meaning behind our finances is a very big part of this, that sentence alone can be unpacked in a lot of different ways. And so it's a lot about knowing how to extract the meaning from your finances and how you spend your money, and how you find the meaning within how you spend your money in that way. So so that's really the Jupiter in Taurus there. I'm gonna move on, and we're gonna talk about Jupiter in the second house and how that can kind of manifest within the natal chart. So we'll see you next part. We talk about Jupiter in the second. Okay, so we have Jupiter here in the second house, and for those of you that know what your natal chart is, you know that having Jupiter in the second house can indicate quite a lot of different things with finances and resources and money in that way. And it really does depend on what sign Jupiter's in, which is why I'm making this series, so you can kind of really go through and see all of the different indicators of what Jupiter sign you may have in that specific second house. And so Jupiter within the second house has a lot of focuses around the family values and the family teaching. And so this could be someone who's born into a family of teachers or a family of philosophers, but a lot of it is about the family unit creating quite a lot of faith and meaning and belief into the native. And then we see with Jupiter in the second, this is where we see a lot more on the scope of financial abundance and a lot more opportunity. We see this a lot more solidly with the second house Jupiter than we do with Jupiter and Taurus, because Jupiter and Taurus it goes through a lot more of a broader range of things that Taurus represents, whereas the second house is a lot of it is really your resources, your money, your values, your ethics, what you use your energy on. And so the thing I really bring up with Jupiter in the second house, and this is kind of a lot with second house things, and when I see a lot of like interesting financial stuff in the chart, is if you have more money, you are just only a magnified person of who you are today. So if you are a shitty person without money, give that person a crap ton of money and you're an even shittier person. But then if you are also a great person with no money, you are given a lot more money. And then what ends up happening is you become an even better person with what you use your money for. And so Jupiter in the second house, a lot of this indicates that there's a need to really spend the money or find the value in what they're like, really extract the meaning from what they're spending their money on in a way that's very different than Jupiter and Taurus, in a way that can be, you know, more opportunity than the average to make money in different ways, and kind of just have just like it always works out for me type of mentality with Jupiter in the second house, where you almost can just kind of make money and you're always fine. It's not really something that needs to be really difficult with. If it were Saturn, that would be a different story, which we'll get to that in a little bit when we do the Saturn video. But Jupiter in Taurus and Jupiter in the second house, more specifically the second house, there's a lot of just like, it just kind of works out. It's just kind of easier. And I meant to mention this before in the Jupiter portion earlier in this video, but I didn't. But essentially, when you are born at the daytime with the sun above the horizon, so in houses 12 to 7, there is this this thing called sect within astrology, which speaks to a benefic or malefic planet being more productive or more gift giving. And if you are a day chart, meaning once again your sun is within, you know, that 12th to 7th house sector there, Jupiter is going to be more beneficial for you, and is going to be the sect light in favor that is going to, or the sect benefic in favor rather, that is going to really, really help a lot of your situation in a way that a night chart wouldn't have the exact same sort of indicators. So knowing that you have your Jupiter in the second house, but also a day chart kind of can add to this in a different way, versus if we have Jupiter in a night chart in the second house, there can be a more of a kind of like not really frugal, but kind of just like giving away their finances and giving away their money, more of a kind of really not really like paying attention to their finances or monitoring their finances in the same way. And so it's really important for those that have their Jupiter in the second house to see if they're a day or a night chart. And I'm going to speak on this more with Venus and Saturn as well, but it's important to really know if Jupiter is a positive, really positive benefic. I mean, it's gonna be positive regardless. It'll just give a lot more if you're a day chart person. And so it's really, really crucial to be able to extract your value and your meaning from what you're spending your money on. And I think Jupiter in the second house, there's a lot of just kind of like, oh, they get savings, oh, they get this stuff kind of working for them. And you'll see that when there's a Jupiter return, which happens around, you know, the ages of 12, 24, 36, 48, and 60, there's a pretty big jump with Jupiter in the second house in finances or financial responsibilities or financial resources. And so you can see that there's almost a larger opportunity for financial growth and financial growth and spending with Jupiter in the second house. And a lot of this can be spending money on meaningful things, spending money on schools and colleges, spending money on education. There could be a lot there. It could be a lot easier to get money for things that are philosophy or law based. There could be a lot of like legal financial stuff going on too, if Jupiter is a little bit less favorably placed, where it can kind of have a little bit of struggles with the law, because Jupiter does rule the law, and in the second house in an unfavorable position may have a lot of legal fees that they have to work towards paying off, or a lot of just kind of they could work as a lawyer, but it's like, but the point is with Jupiter in the second house is they learn technically the laws of money, right? The meaning behind money, the purpose behind money, and resources and what the resources are. And it's really important for Jupiter second housers to be resourceful. And they will likely have more resources than the average person. And resources don't necessarily mean tangible physical wealth in a bank account. It can be, if it's Jupiter and Aquarius in the second house, it could be a full network of people. It could be a full, online community or an online connectivity, or a really good eye for technology. I've seen that with people with Jupiter in the second house in Aquarius. And there could be a full range of things that Jupiter can do in the second house in various different signs, right? If Jupiter is in Cancer in the second house, there's going to be like a lot of typically if Jupiter's well placed, there can be a lot of financial inheritances from the family, or a lot of almost too much to kind of work with financially in that regard. Jupiter in the second in Cancer is really great, as well as Jupiter in Pisces or Sag in the second. Sag in the second can be a little bit spendthrifty, more so because it's an impulsive fire sign. But for the most part, Jupiter in the second house can spend money on things that give them meaning. And depending upon what Jupiter's placement is in, they could find meaning through, various different things, and spend money on various different things. And for example, if Jupiter was in Virgo in the second house, this would be someone who could spend a lot of money on work, or on health bills, or on health routines, and kind of consistently do that. And Jupiter in a sign of Virgo or Gemini is going to have more of in the second house, is going to spend money on things that are more mentally enriching, or physically enriching, in the sense of going to the gym and gym memberships. And the thing about Jupiter and Virgo in the second would be more of a native that would really need to make a routine around money, a routine around visiting that relationship with money, extracting that meaning behind money. And that's the thing with Jupiter in the second. It's all about being able to extract meaning with your relationship with money. We see this with Jupiter and Taurus, but Jupiter in the second house is a lot more of that. And it's almost like knowing what your resources are, and depending upon Jupiter's placement in sign and aspect in this, for example, Jupiter in the second house is going to want you to really go in various different ways to understand specifically what it is that money means to you, what it is the resources that you have, and how you manage those resources, as well as what your morals are and your ethics and your values, because second house planets really bring out that kind of focus around being able to really, really dig into what is the meaning behind why I'm spending my money on this? What is the ethics in this? And Jupiter in the second, especially if it's Jupiter and Scorpio in the second, this is where you'll see people that specifically Jupiter and Scorpio in the second can have really follow financial gurus that scam them. That's very, very niche and specific, but it can almost be like that with Jupiter and Scorpio in the second, or working with unethical bankers, or working with unethical leaders. But it's a lot of Jupiter and Scorpio in the second, and I'm not really gonna talk about Pluto in this series, but I kind of bring it up pretty much every video, just because I work with Pluto so intimately. And if Jupiter were to be in Scorpio in the second, or Jupiter Pluto were to be aligned, and it's connected to the second house, there can be a lot of wealth. We see Jupiter Pluto in the second, or Jupiter Scorpio alignment, stuff like that, to have a lot of wealth, almost too much specifically, but they can do it unethically, right? And I kind of talked about this a little bit with Mercury and Scorpio in the second house, where there can be this making money through unethical means. And with Jupiter Scorpio in the second, they can be taught how to make money in unethical ways, or be taught unethical ways of making money or use of money. But it can also be, if it's well aligned, it could be these power people that have a crap ton of money, these billionaires, millionaires, learning how they use it, and repeating that in an ethical manner, or recreating what they did ethically, the leaders that taught you about money, and doing it once again. And so there's a lot of that. There's a lot of loans too. You can see with Jupiter in the second house, being able to just get money, especially if the money is coming to you for purposes of law and school and teaching in that regard, or learning something, because Jupiter really wants someone to learn more about money and their values and their morals and their ethics, and also learn about their resources, their home, their family. Jupiter second can have a really rich family in a lot of ways, where they're almost more more prone to preacher-esque, religious-esque families and religious upbringing. So like if Jupiter would be in Capricorn in the second house, there may be like a almost a old school, like I'm thinking like honestly like Amish kind of thing is what I kind of would see with Jupiter and Capricorn in the second, or someone who is born into a family that has very or outdated or soon to be outdated beliefs, because Jupiter Capricorn typically struggles with that. There's a lot that could be said about that one too, but I think there's so much about the family units, belief systems that are tied into Jupiter second house, no matter what it is. Because a lot of the family and how you relate to family is Jupiter second house. You can also be a teacher for the family. That's very prominent. It doesn't have to be that your family is super influential and super Jupiterian people, but it is more of like there's this you are the teacher of the family, you are the philosopher, you're the healer, you're the guide, you're the first one to go to school, right? There's almost like a funding for school from your family in a lot of ways. And I find people that have Jupiter in the second, they're the ones that typically inspire the family to make a lot more money. Because when it comes to Jupiter in the second, you are almost required to experience a more affluent sort of situation. I mean, it kind of depends on what else is going on in the chart. But I know someone in specific who has Jupiter really well placed in the second, squaring Venus in Taurus in the fifth. And they immediately upon being born, their family started doing really well financially, because Jupiter in the second really wants to experience that broad range of capabilities and capacities and finances. And sometimes your own natal chart will impact your family in a way that changes things that you didn't know, because you were almost promised to experience these certain things so you can learn about life in a very specific way as it relates to your natal chart. And Jupiter in the second has a lot to do with those sorts of things. And so, yeah, I really hope that those of you that had Jupiter in the second house really learned something from this video today. That's why I do all these videos. I love doing this. I love talking about astrology. This is going to be super fun series for me. I'm really only on Taurus right now, and I think there's so much more that I want to talk about. And I really appreciate all of you for being here, watching this, spending the time to go through this and extract the meaning from this. And if you're interested in any other Taurus videos or second house videos, the description's down below and you can kind of check all those out. And then in addition to that, obviously, if you're interested in any of my services or any of things that I have to offer, my website's down below. And then finally, I do have a course down there as well, that if you're interested in my beginner's course, you can learn more about that, where I go through a lot more about breaking down other parts of this and how you can learn to read your own natal chart in a lot of various ways. And you would be able to get like a quiz from me at the end about how you interpreted a natal chart specifically. So that's really all I needed to say. I really love doing this. This means so much to me, and I'm really grateful to be able to talk about this and have this knowledge and put it out there. So thank you so much for being here. And I hope this video gave you some understanding and some validation and some peace. And if you have any questions, and I would love to hear about your Jupiter second house and Jupiter Taurus stories, feel free to put that down in the description box below. It means the world to me to be able to interact with you guys. So thank you so much. I appreciate you. I love you, and I will talk to you all soon. Right, bye.